We are back on a always game day in Cincinnati. Lindsay Patterson, Mike Santagata here. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Lindsay?
Not too bad. Not too bad for a Monday as we're recording this. Joe Burrow, the notification we were all waiting on, is back throwing. And here's the thing. I guess it shouldn't be too surprising because Joe Burrow did the interview with Ben Baby about a month or two ago and said, I should be fully cleared by May. And throwing, there were reports a couple weeks ago Joe Burrow has started to throw. Obviously, no video evidence. And Zach Taylor didn't have too much to add when it comes to the Joe Burrow throwing when he was talking when their offseason program began a couple weeks ago. But today was huge news. Joe Burrow's there for their offseason program. Rookie minicamp does start on Friday, so we'll see some of the rookies there. And of course, Joe Burrow can be there with the rookies. So we'll see what that looks like towards the end of the week. We'll hear from Joe Burrow tomorrow. But some thoughts on Joe Burrow throwing, because it wasn't just, oh, here's just one little pass. He was thrown behind the back. He was running and throwing, and it feels pretty big on May 6th for Joe Burrow from a serious wrist injury.
Yeah, it seems it's cool to see him throw. It's cool to see. I mean, that's what I've been waiting for. I don't care that much about the speculation of it all, of trying to find when's he going to throw and talking about that every day. So I just waited, like, okay, when he throws, that'd be great. And then he finally started throwing the ball. So awesome, cool. Next, we'll get to see even more throwing, maybe some deep balls coming up. But yeah, my first thought was like, cool, he's throwing. And I remember I also saw some nonsense about his bones needing to grow or something for 2 years, which we should all collectively ignore. We gave, as a fan base, that man 800,000 impressions. So let's not do that.
Yeah. When it comes to the troll accounts or even the Twitter doctors who have MD on their names, just be careful what you're reading. There was a post months ago. I don't want to give too much attention. I'll move on and back to Joe Burrow. But it was like, oh, this is what's going to happen to him. And my page is for sale at the end. So a lot of that stuff is for interactions. Even the guy who put that out today, great troll job by the Bengals, even if they didn't mean it, to have a Joe Burrow video out of him throwing. There were two things that were wrong with that post anyways. It was his ligament. That was the wrist injury. And the post said something about his bones. Number two, said the surgery was in LA. And I'm pretty sure it was in Pennsylvania. So there was some misinformation on that. And that guy was one of the biggest trolls on the internet. So ignore that stuff. Don't interact with it. Joe Burrow is back from the main Bengals Twitter account. And it's just good for them. I mean, my biggest, and I will not talk about going into this training camp healthy, but I will just bring up, you get these offseason programs. The Cincinnati Bengals don't have a lot of practices. They actually pushed their OTAs to the end of May. These are just offseason workouts. OTAs end of May. They'll have another one in June for their mini camp. Rookies report on Friday. So getting these reps in early is absolutely huge for Joe Burrow, because we've been waiting on that notification that he's thrown again since that Thursday night football game, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Just been waiting on that notification. Some people went crazy, some people didn't. I don't know. I just remember before the draft, I feel like it was one of the topics of conversation. It's like, will he ever throw? Will the throwing be the same? And yeah, it is. Cool. Yeah, we're here. Yeah. When will he start throwing? Will he miss OTAs? Will he miss this? It's like, I don't think so, but I don't know. We're not doctors. We can't figure this out. So whenever he throws, he throws. So point for the people who didn't care about the instant gratification of knowing exactly when he would throw. They were surprised. Me. That's the people I'm talking about. Me. I was surprised this morning when I saw that he threw the ball. I was like, cool, he's throwing the ball. I don't care about like it was the UFC thing. I think he went to the UFC thing. He's like, does he still have the thing on his wrist? It's like, who cares, man? Like, yeah, I'm just whatever.
A lot of quarterbacks actually wear that sleeve. And Joe Burrow was wearing it last season. Obviously before the injury happened, it's a pretty normal thing for them to wear during the off season or even during regular season when they have practices. And obviously a lot of people are going to pay attention to every single detail. I actually saw someone post an image. Did Joe Burrow get a tattoo? And it was like the sleeve had like a title on it. It's like, come on, guys, just let's appreciate the video. He's throwing. That's awesome. And, for Joe, As I mentioned before, look, Jamar Chase is getting his workouts in Texas, which is awesome. Go Jamar Chase. See it, training camp. That's totally fine with me. T. Higgins more than likely won't see him until probably a week or two before regular season. But hey, if he's at training camp, he's at training camp. There is a little bit of a bonus for other guys who are there right now. Not the Trenton Irwins, who's obviously had experience. And even Trenton and Yoshi said it looked like Joe from last year. There was really no change that they could really feel from catching some of the footballs today. There's more on that on Bengals.com from Jeff Hobson. But you get Yoshi, Charlie Jones, Mike Gesicki, who's in there, and then some of the rookies who will be in town, who Joe Burrow has several offensive weapons in the rookie side that he'll get to throw with on Friday. So I think all of that is absolutely huge this week because it is one day of rookie camp. And look, maybe I'm looking too much into that until they report back towards the end of May, which will be here in a couple weeks anyways. It's big for Joe, and it's big for some of these guys who wouldn't get most of the reps if T and Jamar were there.
Yeah. It was just, well, it didn't go that great for him at safety, but it was like when Jesse Bates missed, it was like, okay, cool, Jesse Bates, Dax Hill will get some extra reps. Now, didn't really work, but hopefully this works better for when it's like, okay, cool, Yosivas and Jermaine Burton and Charlie Jones, they get extra reps. T's not there. Well, Boyd won't be there either, so there'll be plenty of reps to go around for all these players. And also, it keeps T healthy, although he's usually not a type that misses from the preseason and the early stuff. It's usually something that happens to him in a game that he's been missing time for. But still, nice to keep him on ice until the season starts. He's a necessary member of the team. It's better when he's out there. I'm happy that all this seems to be working out right now. I don't really have too much. I don't know. You know me. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not a June excitement person.
It's May.
It's May. It's not even June yet. I'm still doing draft stuff. I think everybody moved on. I'm like, how do you move on so quick? Like, there were 10 picks. I'm through 4. Like, am I gonna watch all these guys, or is it just like, yeah, we've moved on. We're writing Joe Burrow fan fiction now, which I'm fine with. I'll write some, but as it stands, I was just kind of like, I guess we're moving on from the draft pretty quick. But articles coming out soon. Hope they read them.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But yeah, that's all we really need to say. Good news for Bengals fans. I know a lot of retweets and videos and excitement, and everybody should be. According to obviously other physicians and people when speaking on this wrist injury, it sounded pretty serious, and obviously took a lot of rehab. And Joe's really been doing that for the last 6 months. And let's just see what happens when OTAs and minicamp, we're right around the corner. Rookie camp on Friday, and hopefully a lot of these guys get a lot of reps with Joe while we're waiting on T and Jamar. And again, no concerns about that. We'll see them when they get here. Moving on though to what you've been working on when it comes to the rookie class. I agree with you. It felt like the draft ended months ago, but not really, just a few weeks ago. And Mike has plenty on all Bengals. We'll talk a little bit about in review some of the videos when it comes to this draft class for the Cincinnati Bengals on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. We are back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Lindsay Patterson, Mike Santagata. I cannot talk on Monday's episode. But as I mentioned before, going into the break, Mike is doing fantastic work over on All Bengals. Make sure you check out his pieces. Get the Chris Jenkins ones already out there, Amarius Mims, and I know more are going to be coming through. So Bengals fans really need to check that out. When it comes to kind of going back, I know we did a little recap post the NFL draft with some of these rookies. You went back, you watched the tape. I wouldn't say on all 10 players yet, but hey, maybe you did. Okay. What really kind of stands out, maybe some differences that you saw in the video versus, when we were recapping it?
So we talked at length about Amarius Mims. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was a guy I watched extensively before they drafted him, and after I drafted him, I've talked a lot about him. So that people know my thoughts. I think it's awesome that he's so natural and ready for pass protection for this team, because that's very important. It's the more important aspect of blocking for this team rather than run blocking. And the run blocking is a big work in progress. So we move on to Chris Jenkins, and he is a great run defender when he is in a situation where he is the only guy. He's only being blocked by one guy. When it's a solo block situation where you've got Jenkins. They're trying to reach him. They're trying to base block him, back block him, whatever. He does a fantastic job of destroying those blocks with his upper body strength. He's got some good processing skills. He's got some movement ability in there. He's got a really high-end effort guy. So I think he can see the field right away. And this was probably all in the scouting report for him for the most part. I think I watched one game before they drafted him. So now I've watched like 8. I do think he is very raw as a pass rusher. And to me, that comes down to he can't use his strength just yet, because what you want to do when you bull rush a guy is to kind of create an angle that intersects them. And he doesn't really do that right now. He kind of still stands up as he's trying to bull rush his opponents. So naturally, that's gonna, if you can't bull rush a guy and that's gonna be supposed to be one of your main ways to beat somebody, you don't really have much. So he's got like this little spin move he can use sometimes, but it's not put together just yet. But that's fine, because he can learn to rush the passer as he defends the run, because he should be able to step on the field and defend the run right away. Moving on to Jermaine Burton, another guy I've watched enough games of. He's very interesting. True burner speed. He's got the tracking, the body control, the hands to make good on that burner speed. I think that's all awesome. Mm-hmm. I do think with him, the one thing, there's a couple things. He's not a yak guy, even though there are some highlights. It's just, I think there might be a little bit of a balance thing with it. Like, he doesn't always stay on his feet and stay balanced as he's running. When he gets out of breaks, sometimes you can see him stumble. You can see that there are some situations where he squares somebody up and he just doesn't beat that. Like, if it's one of the, if it's, I mean, this is way up there, but like Malik Neighbors, if Malik Neighbors had a guy squared up, he's probably going to try to beat him and rush to the end zone. That's just not what Jermaine Burton's game is, despite the speed. And it's not 4.2 speed. It's more like good game speed, like great game speed that he can make good on. But he's not going to be, I wouldn't say he's probably the fastest player on the field at every moment. I do think he's got great change of direction, but I think he's a little bit sloppy as a route runner. I think he can kind of drift away and give openings for corners, at least at the NFL level, to take advantage of that. But to go with that, I do think he reads zone coverage pretty well. So it's really interesting evaluation of him. I think he can be a useful player right away, just like a take the top off the defense, make them account for you type. I mean, when he played at Alabama, they really had to account for him. There were moments where they're doubling him on the backside of a 3-by-1 set where he's the only guy on that side of the field, but they're going to spend 2 guys to cover him up and leave 3 for the other 3 wide receivers. So I think he's going to be useful right away. I don't know if some people are very excited. They think like clear wide receiver 4. I don't think that. But to me, I don't see, at least right away, a guy that's going to step on the field and be like, oh, that guy's T Hoogans. Like, I don't know who you're talking about. So that would be the one thing I think about with him, is just like, I'm not sure if it's fully there just yet, but he is exciting. And the only other guy I've watched enough tape on is McKinley Jackson, and not for me. I think that is a reach after watching the film, and that's okay. I've been wrong before. I'm not going to slander anything. He doesn't play like a nose tackle. He doesn't take on double teams. He gets moved by double teams all the time, but he can go backdoor and slant and use some movement ability first step to penetrate. And they really wanted him to penetrate and get upfield more than they want to do anything else. So you kind of have to project his role at the NFL and the Cincinnati Bengals. But to me, when they asked him to do things that I think the Bengals will ask him to do, he didn't do them very well. So maybe they're going to change the scheme. Maybe they'll do something else to help accommodate him. But my first glance at him was, needs work to see the field right away.
Okay, I want to go back to Jermaine Burton real quick, because obviously a lot of people, they were really excited about this pick. Zach Taylor was really excited about this pick. There were reports before or even after the Bengals pick, hey, this guy could have been a top wide receiver in this class. Obviously, just a little more with his name connected to his name, and maybe that's why you dropped. But this was also a class that wide receiver heavy in the first and second round. He was available for the Cincinnati Bengals with one of the top of the 3rd picks. You kind of look at him and you say, I don't see him being kind of that wide receiver number 4 right away. So you're telling me, I just want to make sure, Trent Irwin, And Yoshi, you would
Wait,
have
what?
higher.
I said I don't see him taking over for T. I think he could be the third wide receiver.
Okay. Then dismiss what I said. Sorry, I heard wide
Oh my
receiver
goodness.
4. I heard wide receiver 4, and I thought, oh my goodness, wait.
No, I meant in the draft. Some people had him the fourth best wide
Oh
receiver
my
in the draft.
goodness, that is my fault. I apologize for mishearing that. It's a Monday. But no, okay, good. I was about to say that's absolutely brutal if he couldn't even be the wide receiver 4.
No, but I always think every year that Trent Irwin is underrated. He's going to have a role on the team. They like him. And Joe Burrow really trusts him, and he makes good on that trust most of the time. The only time he wasn't good was that one game where they pushed him into the slot, that Chiefs game, and he didn't get any separation against the Chiefs. But that's not his role. They should have moved Chase into the slot and had him outside. But I think they were kind of scrambling after Boyd went down. So I don't know. I think Burton could be the third wide receiver right away.
Yeah.
I would probably put him as the favorite to be the third wide receiver on these 3 wide receiver sets, because I think he provides a skill set that they're missing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is. I think I'd give him like a 60% chance. Like in my brain, when I watched him, I was like, yeah, it's like 60%. Like, because Yossi Vosh could come in better than last year and take that job. Or maybe Charlie Jones is what people thought he was last. I mean, if we talk about what people thought Charlie Jones was last year going into the year, I mean, it was about as hype as people are for Burton. They were like, oh my God, what a steal. And then he misses some time, gets injured, and doesn't progress into being the slot receiver they were expecting. And then it's just like, oh, Charlie Jones stinks. Like, we don't care about him anymore. But what if he really works? He comes in like an awesome slot receiver. Like, I think they've all got a shot at being the wide receiver that will be on the field for 3 wide receiver sets. And it could even be Trent Irwin. I know people will want to discredit that because he is not the young, fun pick.
Yeah, not to take away from this current rookie class, but still thinking of guys like Chase Brown and Yoshi and Charlie Jones, because it really felt like I kind of wanted to see more of them. And we started to see more of Chase Brown when Joe Burrow was injured, which was really unfortunate because I can't wait to see what he's able to do with Zach Moss in the run game. But overall, guys like Charlie Jones, I feel like everyone was so high on him last year going into the season. Now everybody's so low. They're like, oh no, what's Charlie Jones going to be? And, is he going to, I mean, where is he at on the depth chart when you think about the wide receiver room right now? Charlie Jones was injured for quite some time in his rookie year. Did return, didn't have Joe Burrow most of the time when he was back, and didn't get a lot of those reps towards the end of the season. So for me, look, I'm not ready to say Charlie Jones doesn't have it. Want to definitely see more out of Charlie Jones. But this is the opportunity for guys like Charlie Jones, Yoshi, Jermaine Burton in his rookie year. Those 3 guys could be absolutely huge and do the wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, to be determined who's wide receiver 5 in this room. I know you're not down on Trent Irwin, so I don't want to put him too low. And look, he's had to step up at a lot of different times when Jamar Chase has been out or T. Higgins has been out. And injuries happen in the NFL. We can't predict that, but they could deal with injuries in the wide receiver room. So, there's other opportunities for guys to step up. So we'll see. And I apologize, Mike. Can't believe I thought you that he couldn't be wide receiver number 4 on this roster. I got a little concerned. I'm like, wait a minute. But no.
Yeah, we are out of the draft. We're out of the draft. I gotta be very specific. This is no longer draft time.
Sorry, man. Sorry. But I saw that clip actually where one of the PFF guys, friends of the show, said that he would be his wide receiver 4 in this draft class. So we'll see what happens. I think the biggest thing with Burton, not to take anything away from the other guys that you watched, but it's obviously an offensive player. Speed. Was that the biggest difference maker you can really see when it comes to this offense? Because that's what they need in the wide receiver room, more speed.
Yep. I think that's why I would peg him as the leader. One of the main reasons is I think that he provides the speed that they're looking for. And Yossi Voss is pretty fast himself. But I think Burton can translate to the slot better. And they're probably looking for a guy that can at least play some in the slot, which Burton only played about 22% of snaps in the slot. So it's not a crazy amount, but he's been there. And I think his skill set is more conducive to the slot than Yossi Voss's is. Yossi Voss is just, he's got such a high center of gravity, so tall and lanky and big, long legs that help him run fast on the field, but it kind of hurts him when he needs to be quick and underneath. So, and Burton was mostly a deep threat at Alabama. There were a ton of underneath stuff, but it seemed like he could do the underneath stuff a little bit better. So that's why I'm pegging him as a favorite, because he provides the speed, and I think he can do some of the underneath stuff better. It's just Maybe they don't want a guy that can play in the slot. Maybe they want Jamar Chase almost full time in the slot. Who knows? I don't know what their thinking is. Or maybe they don't care about the slot at all because Gesicki's actually wide receiver 3. Who knew? And they're just going to be a 12 personnel team. It's possible.
So. I mean, they have 5 tight ends right now, so it really could be the writings on the wall to put Mike in the slot, see what happens. I hope that they just put Jamar Chase all over the field. I really do. Just be creative. I do think Dan Pitcher's and nothing away from Brian Callahan. I actually appreciate Brian Callahan and everything he did for this offense. Felt like he's probably an underrated piece of the offense, and hopefully Dan Pitcher, it does just fine in that role. And obviously a lot of people had interviews with Dan Pitcher, a young, exciting offensive coordinator for other teams, moving up from the quarterback coach. And I'm excited to see what he's able to do with this offense. But yeah, I know you had a chance to watch some of the players. I can't wait to see what you have to say about the tight end room, going back and watching some of that, those tape review for the rookie tight ends, because I think a lot of people right now, they're like, oh, is this guy going to be ready? What's he going to do for this offense? I've mentioned it before. Even Louis Riddick said Eric All, if healthy, could be a George Kittle type of tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that felt like very high praise. Yeah. So we'll see what that looks like. Eric All did talk to the media after the draft and said he should be ready for a training camp. So obviously the injury is something that a lot of people are going to be watching, but so far so good. Mike has a lot of good pieces. Make sure you go check it out. He'll be doing more film review and have the rest of those articles out, but they're all really good stuff. Anything else you'd like to say about some of the tape review on this rookie class?
Nope, I am definitely Eric All, and then I do not know if I'm going to continue after that because it'll be so deep. It'll just be so late. Nobody's going to care. The Josh Newton piece 4 weeks after the draft, who cares? They are not going to care. But I think I might watch Matt Lee anyway.
Yes.
I love offensive line, and I hear that he was a steal. So I might just find a way to watch Matt Lee and then kind of skip Newton through everybody else. Just like, I'll watch him in the preseason. I watch preseason film for a reason, I guess.
Newton seems fun, and pretty much just his interviews of what I've watched so far. And I'm like, this guy's going to be, I don't know, he's going to be hilarious. So we'll see what happens. But I agree with you. And nobody's going to hold that against you if you don't go through every single tape review of all those rookies. But Eric All, I think, would be obviously a good one. And then Lee in the 7th round. I did ask Brad Thorne, I probably mentioned this on the last podcast, if he felt like, Lee could be a starting guard in 2020, or starting interior lineman in 2025. And he said, yeah. He leaned more towards So I think that's absolutely huge for the Bengals. Interior is still something I feel like is a little bit of a weakness still. Sorry for Cordell Wilson, but I feel like, maybe adding another body. I don't know if they'll just add a camp body or not, but I would love to see a little bit more competition with Cordell Wilson going into training camp. I don't know if they have that on the roster in 2024.
I'm going to check what Brandon Thornton, that's what I was on my brain, but Matt Lee measured in at very short arms, so probably a center, almost 32 inches on the dot, 32 and an eighth. So,
hey, they need a backup center right now. They need the depth and hopefully a future center. We'll see what that looks like for the Cincinnati Bengals. But again, make sure you check out Mike's work, Bengals_Sands over on All Bengals. Some really great rookie articles. Next, we'll talk a little Trey Hendrickson and NFL schedule on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. We are back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Look, there was a rookie preview. There was a rookie picks, the NFL draft. The Cincinnati Bengals had 10 picks, and we really didn't get a chance to get to this last week. Trey Hendrickson, the trade request happened. Feels like forever ago, but it was just a few weeks ago on Wednesday. Trey, as everybody knows, signed a contract extension, adding an extra year to his already current deal last offseason during training camp. Bengals added about $5 million more to it. He was going to be under contract for the 2024 and 2025 season, and also obviously 2023. The Cincinnati Bengals offered that contract extension after pretty much an 8-sack season. Yes, 17.5 sacks later. Maybe Trey Hendrickson should have bet on himself, even though we are a player get paid podcast. I was a little surprised to see that more because it was I want more money, I want extension, or there's a possibility that I could retire.
Yeah, it was surprising, but not that surprising. I guess if you're just watching people get paid and they're making almost like double what you're going to make this season, I understand the frustration. But yeah, it is kind of like, big dog, you signed the deal. Like, it's usually not like in every year you're going to get an extension type of thing. So it's always nice to have that extra security, but you probably should have just bet on yourself, and then you would be in a position to make that money this upcoming season instead of having to wait an extra year, and then you're older, and then who knows if you even get paid like that. So I feel for both sides of this, where the Bengals are going to be like, we just gave you more money. Like, I don't understand what you mean that you're going to hold out, and they're not listening at all to these trade requests. It's the same thing as T, where it's like, great, imagine them putting their trade request in paper and putting it through the mail slot to Mike Brown's office, and then you just hear the shredder go. That there's just a shredder at the other end of that mailbox where you put it in, it gets shredded, and he never reads it. Like, he's not going to care about this trade request, and they never do. To a fault, they would have traded T for maybe if they had the opportunity to trade him for a first round pick. Then I don't know if they would. Like, sometimes I think they might not.
Here's the thing. I feel like, when you see that come out, it was the agent side of thinking, oh, well, it's the day before the draft. Maybe this will motivate the Bengals to trade Trey because it's draft weekend, and nothing happened. Nothing was going to happen. You're not going to get rid of one of your best players on the defense, your best player on the defensive side last year. And just because he has a request to be traded, I think it's different than the T. Higgins stuff. It's really easy for a lot of people on the outside to say, oh, cheap ownership. Oh, the Cincinnati Bengals, nobody wants to play with them. No, it was a good deal for the front office. And when it was complete last year, I'm sure you can go through so many people just reacting to it saying, whoa, what a steal for the Cincinnati Bengals to be able to do that. Great idea to extend Trey an additional year on top of the next 2 years. And I think it was a great move by the front office. Maybe Trey's camp should have said, you know what, I'm going to bet on myself and see what happens, because I see the market right now, what some of these guys are getting paid, and that's a lot of money. I could probably double that or get even an extra year on top of that. So let me just live out this contract. The Cincinnati Bengals did take a chance on Trey Hendrickson when they decided to go Trey versus Carl Lawson. And a lot of people criticized them for it. Said, oh, what are you paying Trey Hendrickson for? He had help when he was with the Saints. Probably not going to live up to that contract. And the Bengals gave him that deal. They gave him money. He lived out the contract, added some more money on top of that contract. And I don't know. I don't think that this is a front office thing, even though, yes, Trey Hendrickson is underpaid for what he's been able to do, but you signed 9 months ago. And when it comes to obviously the CBA rules and all that stuff, the Bengals can't extend him now. They can add an extra year on top of that, and obviously that would be more money. They can't add any more money to the 2-year extension left until July, which is 2 months away. And Zach Taylor did talk to the media after the NFL draft, and he said, look, we're going to talk to Trey. Trey's camp will be in here, and they'll have all those conversations over the last week. So we'll see what happens. Trey normally doesn't go to a lot of the offseason programs, so maybe he waits it out and he shows up towards the end of training camp, mid-training camp. The only thing that I'll pretty much guarantee is Trey Hendrickson will be a Cincinnati Bengal in September. And, maybe that changes, and the Cincinnati Bengals were definitely open to having those extended conversations after the 2024 season to talk about extension. His agent even said that to Ben Baby on an ESPN piece. So we'll see what happens, but he'll play for them. And T. Higgins will be playing for the Cincinnati Bengals in September.
Yeah, I don't see either of those guys getting traded, at least this year. I think the only chance that T. Higgins get traded is if they tag him again just to trade him. And I don't know what the return on that would be, but it's probably not going to be what you could have gotten. So hopefully this half not all in approach works out, because otherwise you're going to kind of go like, dang, we probably could have gotten something really nice for T. Higgins, but we held on to try to win that Super Bowl. So hopefully we're just saying like, yeah, they won the Super Bowl. Who cares where T. Higgins goes? We're getting a 3rd round comp pick. Nobody cares. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to think about the other alternative. Not this moment.
When it comes to T. Higgins, I've always said, look, I do think the Bengals value him. And a lot of people always add, well, if they valued him, they would pay him. T is a great receiver. He is awesome. The Bengals and David Moll together, can't agree to a contract right now. So they use the franchise tag, which they're able to do and able to use. We don't know, the discussions behind the scenes, what's happening. You're probably going to hear one side of it because the Cincinnati Bengals will not say anything. They are not Jerry Jones and have a statement or anything additional to what is out there from an agent. So we're just going to hear nothing from the Bengals. And that's fine. I'd honestly rather the ownership be that way and not have any additional comments to what gets out there when it comes to the T. Higgins extension. I hope T. Higgins balls out. Hope he has his best career as an NFL football player, and he helps the Cincinnati Bengals win their first Lombardi. I think that would be absolutely awesome. And you know what? It would work out for both of them. They win a Lombardi. T. Higgins goes and gets paid from another team the following year, because the Cincinnati Bengals, I really, really wanted them to extend T. Higgins because I feel very confident to say Jamar Chase will be the wide receiver they extend. The reason they haven't extended Jamar Chase yet is Jamar Chase is waiting on Justin Jefferson. That market could get even higher for Jamar Chase, so he's not trying to sign anytime soon. And I'm sure the Bengals, if they could say, Jamar, let's get a deal done and do it now, he'd probably say, let's wait one more season and see what that wide receiver market is, because it's only going to get higher. And Jamar Chase, we've watched him already in the NFL. He's a great receiver and will be paid like a top receiver, probably getting the highest pay check for a wide receiver next offseason. So we'll see what that looks like. But for T. Higgins, I get it from both sides. I obviously want to see him get paid, but also, the Bengals feel the way they do, and paying two receivers, it's a lot of money when it comes to that position group versus other positions that they're going to be paying too. And for me, and I've always said this, or always felt this way, especially this offseason, as long as Joe Burrow is healthy, the rest will work itself out. I truly feel confident in other playmakers and players, and I believe in Joe Burrow as a quarterback. I hope everybody gets to stay healthy, and we'll see how it works out in the end. But other than that, look, Trey's going to play for him. T's going to play for him. The rest has just been filler until we get to September.
Yep. That's about it. We're all just in the waiting game.
We are, and we'll wrap this up really quick because the NFL schedule, and I know maybe I'm getting a little too excited about it because I like to plan my fall and my winter out to see where the Cincinnati Bengals, when they're going to be traveling for some of their road games and when they're going to have possible primetime home games. That's always fun. Is there anything on the NFL schedule expected to be released on Thursday of this week? They normally make a huge announcement for it, have a 2-hour show, and then the schedule is released. Do you have any games that you're looking forward to?
Oh, I should look. Outside of divisional games, because those are always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to look up Bengals opponents for this season because I am honestly not 100% sure. I remember when I looked at the home opponents, I kind of went like, oh, I don't have.
What happens when you play a last place schedule?
Yeah, I don't have an immediate one that I'm like, oh, that would be so fun to go see. I think the one I looked at the most, I was just making sure it was a home game, was the Philly game. I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. Like the Eagles, it seems like a nice experience. In Cincinnati, maybe not in Philadelphia, I don't know. Yeah, but then it's like the Broncos, the Raiders, the Commanders, and Patriots are the other teams that they're playing at home other than the Steelers, Browns, and Ravens. And that makes you go like,
maybe they won't have primetime games at home.
I'm not excited about those games. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm thinking if Philly is early in the season, that'd be the game I pick to go to. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I'll just pick a game that I feel pretty confident they'll win. So I'll go watch them play the Commanders.
Week 1, Commanders, baby, at home. That would just be absolutely amazing. I'm going to say this right now.
Absolutely electric.
Please. That's all I ask for. I will say this about the schedule release. This is my only guarantee for the Cincinnati Bengals. I want that Black Friday game at home. I think that would be a lot of fun with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know the Cincinnati Bengals wanted that to be an annual event. The NFL said, no way. So maybe that works out for them and they get that this year. My other one is, we can all guarantee this. I know a lot of people are like, well, the Bengals and Chiefs could open the season on Thursday night. That is not happening. The NFL could just put the Chiefs on TV without an opponent and it would get ratings. So they're going to put maybe it is a higher team. Maybe it's the Baltimore Ravens or something like that. But they're probably going to push those games to later in the season. The Cincinnati Bengals will play the Chiefs in a late December game on 425 because CBS will outbid every network to get that game because the ratings are always insane. And obviously it's in Kansas City. So it's not going to happen on Thursday Night Football. the NFL will put another opponent for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I have seen who I want to go see in 2025 for the home game, though.
Who?
Because did you know that they have this scheduled out for the most part? Oh, they're playing the Lions at home.
Ooh. Jared Goff still be the quarterback?
I don't care. The Sewell Chase Bowl. I got to watch.
I'm like, yeah, great. Good NFC team. You're right. You know that will be so huge. And I still feel the same way now. It worked out for both teams.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think it works for both teams for sure. But I think they're a good team. I like them. And they take a lot of players that I like. So I'd like to go watch a high-end game.
They're a likable team.
Sure,
yeah.
For sure. I like them. I was rooting for them when they lost.
Him. But I thought in my brain, I thought they were going to play the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl because I thought, oh, Baltimore's loaded. They'll beat this Kansas City team who can't do anything offensively. And then they found a way to win that game. And then the Lions lost, obviously. But yeah, no, it should be fun. Well, I'm looking forward to the games, and I'm sure we'll get a few primetime games for the Cincinnati Bengals. Those home opponents, they don't look too great. I'd rather not start the season in the AFC North. That would be great, but the NFL loves that.
Yeah.
It'll be the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals to open up the season or something like
that. Been a while since that. When was the last time they hosted the Ravens?
You remember?
Played the Ravens. Was it the game they lost? They scored. I don't think they scored. Did they score 3? I can't remember.
No, they didn't score at all. 20 to nothing.
20-0. Yeah, that was that the Zampese?
It was Zampese. Was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And then he got fired like 3 weeks later.
What a time. But yeah, Cincinnati Bengals, make sure you go check it out. Thank you, as always, for listening to It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Follow Mike Bengals_Stance. Go check out his work over on All Bengals. We'll be back later to talk everything offseason and Joe Burrow throwing the football. Thanks for listening.